This episode is brought to you by our friends at MILWAUKEE Tools. Outdoor power equipment gives you the power to clear, cut and maintain the outdoors without the petrol headaches. No pull starts, no engine maintenance, no mixing petrol and oil. Book a test drive now at MILWAUKEETools.com.au. Milwaukee, nothing but heavy duty. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at RIXX. RIXX is an Australian lifestyle brand founded with a mission to transform the eyewear industry by creating carefully crafted eyewear that inspires confidence. Everybody should be able to enjoy a touch of luxury and the confidence it brings. See the world differently today. Head online now at rixeyewear.com.au and check it out. Righto, let's get into the show.
First jockey on the potty, we've been trying to get Regan Bayless, like I was saying. You are one of my favourites. I know Regan's more of an up and comer, but when I'm having a punt on the weekend, I do struggle naturally. So I just look for you and James McDonald generally. But look, I'm really interested in the life of a jockey. I've met a couple, more retired than current. Yep. But it looks hard. People don't realise how hard it really is. I'm really interested as a former professional athlete myself. I'm more the opposite. I've always tried to put on muscle and weight and struggle, but I couldn't imagine just stripping weight and then exhausting yourself day in, day out. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of being a jockey, talk to me about, where you grew up and where the, I guess, inspiration come as a young fella to want to be a, world-class jockey.
Yeah, I was born and raised at Warwick Farm on the racetrack there, and my father was a trainer, and my mother used to work for him as well. So he was a jockey before being a trainer. He got too heavy in the end, so started training. So we sort of grew up in that sort of life and grew up with horses and stuff like that. And I guess at a young age, I didn't really know if I wanted to be a jockey at all. It was more I just wanted to be part of the sport. I love the animal, and I guess I fell in love with the horses before figuring out that you could make a good earn out of being a jockey and going fast. So it all sort of roll into one another.
You can make a good earn. We're going to get to this stuff later, but while you're on it, where's the point where you do get a good earn? Because there's a lot of hard yards, in the country meets, I would have thought, but then the good earn comes with the city meets. What age do generally people start making a good quid?
Oh, look, at an apprentice, when you sort of get into your second year of your apprenticeship and you start riding in the city quite often, I guess it's one of the only professions where the apprentices get paid the exact same amount as a senior rider to ride a horse, and you get the exact same prize money. So it's not like you're on an apprentice wage or anything like that. They do keep all of your money in a trust until you finish your 4-year apprenticeship or you turn 18, and then they allow you to take it out. And even if you take money out before that time, it's only you've got to prove that you're buying a house with it or buying a car or putting it into some sort of use, because obviously if you're an apprentice jockey, in the second year of their apprenticeship could be earning $250,000, and for a 17-year-old kid earning $250,000 a year, it can be pretty dangerous. So they've got a pretty good handle on it now, and and then once you get to the end of your apprenticeship and you start being a senior, that's sort of when the good money starts.
That's great. So apprenticeship, for how long? 2 years, 4 years?
4 years.
4 years, so like a tradie almost.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah.
That's great. And who looks after all their cash, like you said? What is there like who's the
just Racing New South Wales?
Oh, Racing New South Wales.
Peter Blaney's.
Yep.
That's probably why we've got so many big prize money races. You might be using a bit of their cash, but no, you got the right man looking after their money there.
Growing up, like when was your, as a jockey, you said you ran horses, Warwick Farm. What is it about the animal that you love so much?
I guess, as we said, like falling in love with it. The reason why I fell in love with horses is just how gentle they are. I remember Nathan and myself, when we were just 5 years old, going to preschool, we used to go to the stables in the morning, and Paul Cave used to have this massive big Clydesdale, and we used to go and eat our breakfast underneath his belly, and he just wouldn't move a muscle, and you've seen, like over the years with Sub-Zero, going to hospitals, going inside of hospitals, and seeing sick kids and sick people that are going through cancer and stuff like that. They're just and putting smiles on people's faces. They're just they're beautiful animals, and then what they can do on a racetrack. You talk about us being athletes. Well, horses are they're on another level, and yeah, it's, I guess, finding a good one and a fast one. that's the beauty of it, trying to find your next good one.
It is. What is it about the horse that makes them so quick? You know, they talk about, you know, when you go in the mounting yard, and I've always got a few mates, geez, it looks well in the yard. What looks well? Like, where should we be looking for, say, a sprinter or a long distance runner? Where should we be looking at these horses?
Well, I guess Lizzie Jolf's very good at picking one in the yard, and she always talks about their walk and how they stride out. And the reason why Black Caviar was so good and Winx was so good is their stride was much greater than a normal horse's stride. So obviously it'd be like you and I having a race together where your legs are a bit longer than mine, so you'd cover a lot more ground. So I'd say a horse that's got a good walk in the paddock is always good. And you know, and their coat, if their coat's good, it means they're healthy and they're feeling well. If it's a bit rough, then you know, they're not 100%.
What's rough mean? Like, you just can't see the muscles popping out?
Yeah, well, even in their furs, it's sort of, they're a bit woolly in the coat and stuff like that. But when their coat's good, they've got a real shine and a real glow to it. So if you can see like they're glowing in the coat in the yard, well, it usually means they're fitting well and ready to go. Yeah.
And just on, we're going to go back to you. I keep getting excited here. You know, I love horses first up, especially the sprinters. But like you said, some of these horses generally just go to the paddock and first up means first up, or they getting worked hard at track work before they come back?
Yeah, well, they get a good foundation. It's usually you know, 6 to 7 weeks before they have a trial in whether it's pre-training or track work. And I think that comes down to the trainer. You know, like Gay Waterhouse, she has them up and ready to go. And you know, when they go into the races first up, they've had 2 good solid trials and they're there to win. Where Chris Waller, he usually gives them a couple of easy trials. It usually takes them 1 or 2 starts to sort of hit their straps. So Joe Pride's another one. He's very good with them fresh. So is Gerald Ryan. So I guess it's got a lot to do with the trainer and the way they train. And some trainers are able to get, you know, 6 or 7 starts out of a horse in a preparation, and some are only able to get 4. And that comes back to their training and how hard they are on them at home.
It's incredible. Back to when you were growing up, at what point did you jump on the back of a horse? How old were you?
As early as I could remember, probably, 5 or 6 years old. My old man used to chuck me on a couple in the box, and he'd go for a walk around and come back, and we'd yell out to him when we wanted to get off it. So they were just race horses sitting in a box and no head collar, nothing. And you think about it now, I'd never do that to my kids. But what Dad used to do to us, it was good. It meant we had no fear.
Yeah, it is good. Have you had any encounters as a kid that you still remember where you might have got bucked off or they kicked you or something like that?
Yeah, no, there was a few. When I was about 13 years of age, Nathan and I used to go to Paul Cave and my father to the sales out at Camden, and we used to buy these unbroken in ponies, and you'd pay, you know, $150, $200 for them, and you'd break them in and then sell them, you know, 4 weeks later for a few thousand. So we made a good little earn out of doing that. But there was this one horse. It was a painted pony, so it was white and well, I think white and brown or white and black, and it bolted flat straight down the asphalt with me one day. And so you're going 60 kilometres, and I was skating. There was sparks coming out of its shoes. It was ended up wrapping itself around a tree.
Oh, Jesus.
So that was probably one of the scarier moments I had growing up when I was still learning how to ride.
Oh, I can imagine. They go quick, don't they? I can only imagine if that's a pony. Imagine the big boys going straight at it. What was your, let's get into it. What was your first ride? You'd remember it like it's yesterday, I'd imagine. What was the process of it though? Like, when did you, you know, I'm only converting from football, but you've obviously played footy all your life. You know, I don't really remember my first game because I was so young. But when was your first professional ride, and what meet was it, and how'd you go?
It went terribly. It was at Hawkesbury, and my brother was a lot more advanced. He was a real natural when it come to riding, where myself, I was a natural horseman, you could say, but when it come into being tactical and just having the knack of being a jockey, they're 2 different things, being a horseman and being a jockey. So my brother picked up on that quite quickly, and so he was getting off on race rides well before I was. But because we were twins, my father said, well, you're not having your first race ride till you both have your first race ride on the same day. He said, I want you to start on the same day, and then whatever happens after that happens. And Nathan, he was getting frustrated because it took three weeks for me to even get an offer, and we ended up going to Hawkesbury for our first day, and we had 1 ride each. Mine missed the kick by about 4 lengths and finished last, and he's missed a kick by 5 lengths and finished last. So it was a tough day, and I remember leaving the track all deflated, and my father said to me, he goes, "Well, boys," he goes, "there's one upside." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Well, you can only get better." So it was a tough spill.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, it's funny. The first is always never as smooth as everyone thinks. When did you start? When did you start feeling like you belong? Like, how many rides does it take, you reckon, seeing who you are now and how well you go, it clearly that's the start and that's the lowest of lows. Like, how many rides does it take to actually start feeling experience and start, as you said, becoming a bit smarter with your strategy and all that?
Yeah, it took me, like I said, I wasn't a natural, so it took me a while. I'd say, and I always go back to comparing myself with my brother, but I reckon Nathan picked it up within 7 months, and he was off and going, and he was getting opportunities in town quite early. I stayed back at the Provincials riding on a Saturday there for, I reckon, another 12 months after my brother. Like, he went to town quite early. And I guess you talk about feeling like you're sort of getting a handle on it. I guess for me, it took probably to the second year, maybe even going into the third year of my apprenticeship, where I could walk into the jockeys room and felt like I belong there, especially in the city jockeys room, because growing up I was riding against Darren B when he was coming to the end of his career, and Corey Brown and Jim Cassidy and all these big names, Glenn Boss, that were my idols growing up, and guys that I used to, I was still at school, in primary school, watching him ride and dreamt of riding against him. So it was quite daunting walking into a room as you would have done in football and playing against people that or riding against people that you idolised, and a bit different to you, I guess, as playing in a team. These are guys that I had to go out and compete against. So I'd say probably in my third year apprenticeship, I started going, well, I've earned my spot here, and I'm comfortable sort of in my own skin and being a part of that room.
What is it that, why was it that your brother was more advanced? Like, what was it, you're saying he's a natural and I had to, work on my craft. Break that down for someone that doesn't understand what that means.
Well, I think it's like anything, and I guess growing up, everyone said, if you want to do something, you've got to work hard at it, and the harder you work at it, the more time you spend on it, the better you'll get. And I always used to think, well, you've either got it or you haven't. and to a certain extent, that is true. But also, there are people that have got it, but it just takes them a little bit longer to pick it up. And I guess for me, I had to work a lot harder to be where my brother was. So in a sense, it took me a lot longer to get to where he was. But then once I got there, because I'd worked so hard at it, and it taught me to, work ethic and stuff like that, and perfection, and which is everything I'm about now. So I'm glad it took me a lot longer, and I'm glad that I wasn't a natural, because working hard for something and getting the satisfaction at the end is quite good. And I guess I've seen a lot of young kids growing up that just had it, and they were such naturals, and because they were that good and everything comes so easy to them, they didn't, they're not even riding now. They made mistakes through life, whether it was drugs or stuff like that, and it got away from them, and everything just came too easy, where when you've got to work really hard at it, you know how hard you've worked at it, so you really appreciate, everything that comes with it.
Yeah, spot on. What is it? What's a perfect ride, or what is the perfection of being a jockey for those that aren't familiar?
I think, if you're 3 pairs back, 4 pairs back the fence, and you can weave the passage through and get there on the line, that's... You hit the line and you go, yeah, that was a good ride. You know, it's easy to sit back and loop the field and come down the outside. I remember the days riding Chautauqua, where everyone used to say how hard a ride he was. Well, it was the easiest ride of all time. You just go back to last and get to the outside and let him rip. But the rides that are, I think, the hardest and that give me the most satisfaction are the horses that might only have a 200-metre sprint. So timing's everything, knowing when to go on them and getting there on the line. So I think they're the best ones.
That's great. Chautauqua, let's go there. What happened? What was it at the end? Everyone loved Chautauqua, and when it wouldn't come out of the barrier, have you seen anything like it?
No, I guess the only one that was similar was Pakistan Star in Hong Kong, and he's the one that used to pull up mid-race. So he was the best horse over in Hong Kong at the time. He'd won, I think, 5 Group 1s over there, and I won a Group 1 while I was over there in Hong Kong on him, but he'd go 2 or 3 furlongs and he'd just pull up halfway and just stop. and just the rest of the field will go, and he'd just look around. So I think he did that 3 or 4 times, and Chautauqua was very much like him. As what made him so good was what probably worked against him at the end. He was a very ignorant horse. He liked to do everything on his own. He hated being fussed over, and when he made his mind up, that's what he wanted to do. That's what he did. And so what made him so brilliant is him being a racehorse, and seeing how exciting he was, being at the back of the field by himself, didn't want to be a part of it, and then flashing home. Well, the day he got scratched at Moonee Valley, and I think because he put so much into his races, he'd pull up the next day like you doing a footy game and playing your best game. You pull up, you buggered for 2 or 3 days after. And he was a little bit the same. And then he got scratched at Moonee Valley one day. He got taken back to his box. He hadn't raced. He still got fed the next day. He still got brushed. He felt great. So him being a smart ass felt, you know what, I don't have to do this. Yeah. I don't have to bust me balls. I'm still going to get fed. I'm still going to get looked after. And I think that was the end of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, he's a smart man.
Too smart for us.
I know. What's it like pressing the button on a horse like Chautauqua? Like you said, like as a punter, there's nothing better than watching him just swoop the field, but it's very rare. But when you see a horse like that just can turn it on, and I mean, what speed are they getting up when they're doing that?
Oh, they're getting up to about 70 k's, yeah.
Flying. So, it must be no better feeling as a jockey being on a horse like that with a crowd cheering you on. It must be special.
Yeah, it is. And I guess also it's having a field of horses around you, So, we're racing very tight. We race very tight here in Australia. But I always find the best horses I've ever ridden, especially him, even though everything's happening fast and he's got such a quick finish on him, it felt like riding him, everything was happening in slow motion. I remember his third TJ Smith, which no one will ever forget. He spotted him still, I think, 5 lengths at the 100 metres and ran him down to win. And it felt like time was standing still when I rode him that day. So, it's the ones that you feel like you're going real fast on are usually the ones that aren't that quick sometimes.
Yeah, spot on. Well said. What about the races? Like an endurance race versus a sprint. What do you prefer to be on? Like, what's more exciting?
I love staying races because it's all about tactics in staying races. Getting your horse to switch off, getting it into a nice rhythm, getting it to breathe well, taking off at the right time. Really good tactical jockeys are great staying riders, and we've seen that with Kieran McAvoy. He's brilliant. He's won 3 Melbourne Cups. Glenn Boss. Some of the best we've seen. Jim Cassidy. They were all tactically brilliant when it come to their timing and stuff like that. Where a lot of people can jump out in a 1,000-metre race and press the button and go fast and hope for a bit of luck. But it's them staying events where you've got to get the timing right and have everything go right in that 2,400 metres for you.
Yeah. When you race, do you have a lot of, do the trainers really feed you what they want you to do? But being an experienced jockey, having your own tactics, at what point do you go, fuck it, I'm going to make a move because the race isn't going as well as we thought it would. It's a bit slower, or it's a bit quick.
Yep.
And then that discussion after the race, is it quite awkward if you go against their plan?
Oh, not really. It is when you're younger, I guess, and you're a bit more inexperienced. But I guess I'm at a point in my career now that they put you on to make decisions in races. And once again, any jockey can go out and just follow the field around, but it's the ones that make decisions and the ones that ride the race instead of having so much of a plan going out, but riding what's happening. And as you said, if the speed's slow, having the confidence to say, well, the speed's slow, I'm going to get going early. Or if the speed's fast, to let the speed go and stuff like that. They put you on because they think you're capable of making those decisions. And it would be very rare now that I get instructions on how they want me to ride. They usually give me an idea of where they want it in the run. And maybe give me a little bit of background on the horse if I hadn't ridden it in track work or something. But usually they ask me for my thoughts. I'll give them my sort of rundown of what I think will happen, and they let me know if they want anything changed. So, but yeah, I've copped plenty of sprays over the years. Not so much anymore, but when I was younger, growing up, and there's some pearlers that I copped.
What's one of that? That's a question that was going to come later from the Aces, but I might as well ask it now. What is one of the biggest sprays that you remember growing up?
Well, it wasn't even growing up. It was one of my rides on Chautauqua. It was the all-age stakes. He was beaten by Lara Main, and I'd actually won a Group 1 on the same day on a horse called Inference. I won the Guineas for Hawksy. I think I might have had another 2 winners for him on the day. And obviously John Hawkes never comes to the races, only his son does, Michael. So you've always got to give him a call on the way to the races and then give him a call on the way home. And he got beat a nose, and I remember calling him on the way home, and I said, "Oh, that was a good day." And he started going off his head, and I think we were on the phone for about 20 minutes, and it was all about Chautauqua getting beat. And he gave me a 1 out of 10 for the ride, and he said, "You only get a 1 because you stayed on and you didn't fall off." And and then I said, "Oh, but what about the Group 1 winner that we had?" He goes, "I don't give a fuck about the Group 1 winner we had. I'm talking about this one." So I don't even think we spoke about the Group 1. So yeah, it was probably one of the biggest I've copped.
Oh, that's brutal. What does he just? That's good intel. He just sits at home and watches them on the TV.
Yeah, he always has. Even when he was training for the Inghams, and they had, I'm pretty sure, like around 200 horses. So that's what Godolphin is now. He used to be their trainer, and I remember Peter Snowden was his foreman or assistant trainer. And Peter used to go to the races, and he used to sit at home and watch all the races. And I guess you can rewind, watch it again, and stuff like that. So by the time you call him on the way home, he's watched the replay 10 times, and he's had it all stewing up in his head. And if you've ridden one really bad, sometimes I just leave it a day or two and call him when he's
sorry, mate, phone's dead.
Yeah, exactly. So
I can only imagine, especially when you. Yeah. What's the go with train? Are they allowed to have a bet on their own horses?
Yeah, trainers are.
Jockeys can't.
No, we can't bet at all. We can bet on trots and dogs, but
so trainers can bet on their own horses, but jockeys can't.
Yeah,
right.
So
it's interesting.
Which it is interesting. I know in New Zealand you're allowed to bet on your own horse, which I guess it wouldn't be too many people out there that if they knew a jockey was having a punt on a horse that they're riding, you wouldn't be too disappointed, would you? But,
nah.
Unfortunately, that's the rules of racing.
I think betting on another horse makes it a bit sus, but obviously on your own horse, it's so fine. Just on track work. Give people an insight of how hard it is and how early you're getting up and what time you're getting home. Because it's, speaking of Reggie, our great mate, Regan Bayliss, I miss a lot of his calls and we played phone tag because he's up that early and goes to bed pretty early as well, sometimes late. But yeah, you just never know what he's doing because it's such a, crazy week. Give us a little bit of an insight to what your week looks like and how early track work is.
Yeah, well, track work for me, every jockey's different. Some do 2 days a week. I like to do 4, and it usually starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. So you're getting up sort of around 3 o'clock. Then you're getting to track work at 4, leaving by about 7:30, getting home at 8:30. Usually I'll go for an hour nap and then get up, sweat for an hour and a half. Usually lose between 1 and 2 kilos, and then go to the races for the day. So
far out.
You're getting home at 7 o'clock, but I guess the hardest part about, you talk about sportsmen and being at their, their absolute best when they go to the races. Like we're usually from the night before losing 2 to 3 kilos from the night before to the morning of, and then you don't get to eat or drink really till after your last ride. So you get to sip on a drink here and there, but some jockeys have even got weight to lose during the day. So it can be a tough, long slog, and we're performing at our ultimate best, pretty much when you're dehydrated and have no food in your stomach. So that's something obviously you start doing when you're young. I started riding at 15, and I've been riding 16 years now, so it's second nature to me. I don't even get hungry anymore; I just get thirsty. So, but yeah, it's a I guess like any job, there's the ups and downs. Track work and wasting and dieting so hard, that's a downfall for us. But riding good horses and having the success we do, and as you said, providing a good life for my family with the money we earn is the upside.
That's the sacrifices, isn't it? With track work, what are you doing? What kind of... So I always try, because Hayden Ballantyne, who I used to play footy with, he's now a trainer. And I've always thought, well, I wonder if he does any similar programs with the horses that we used to do, your fartlek or your, whatever, certain kind of programs. But what kind of, without giving away too much intel of what you're doing, but what is track work for the horses? For a horse coming back, first up, let's say it's a stayer, what kind of, programs are they doing on the track? How many Ks would they be doing? Well,
if they say they're racing, well, he's a perfect example, I guess, for She's Extreme. He's running in the Oaks on the weekend.
Favourite, mind you, so a bit of pressure.
So, yeah, exactly. So her week leading up, she would have gone a gallop on the Saturday, which would be working over a mile, so 1,600 metres. running up 2 furlongs, which means clicking them up. And so your evens is 15s, so 15 seconds every furlong, which is 200 metres. So they'll do 15 seconds for every furlong for, 1,200 metres.
So 15 consecutively?
Yeah, so 15, 15,
so 6
15.
of them?
So we've got to count that.
Yep.
So we've got furlong markers. So you're going to get bang on 15 in between every furlong. And that's for 1,200 metres. And if there's like Hawksy, if you're half a second out, he blows up.
Yeah.
So it's a real art to getting your times right and knowing how fast your horse is going in between that furlong. And then once you get to the 400 metres, you give them a click up and you might run a 13 and a 12. So they might say, go 6 and 2 and run your last 2 and 25. So you do a 13 and 12 and that just lets the horse sort of go through its gears and quickens up to the line. So she'll do that on Saturday, do that again on Tuesday. The day in between, she might just have a canter, which is a really steady lap around the track. Might have a swim around the pool after that. And then fast morning again, gallop, slow morning, canter again, gallop, and then slow morning, and then off to the races on Saturday.
And the races is just where they explode. So they pull up a bit sore like anyone after a big race?
Oh, some of them come out of it great. Some of them come out a bit stiff and sore. The older horses, obviously, they're like us. We don't roll out of bed the same as we used to. I know I definitely don't. So, and horses are the same. The young ones, they, like you, when you first start playing footy, you just bounce out of it and you want to go again. You feel like you can play 3 games in 3 days, or maybe you have another 10 rides tomorrow. But as you get older and that, you look forward to having maybe even the week off and not playing for 2 weeks. And I'm the same. 3 days a week for me riding now is probably as much as I want to do.
Do you get home so what's your day off, Sunday?
Sunday, Mondays usually.
So Sunday, Monday. So from Tuesday to Saturday, it's just go. And having, 4 kids, you get home, it wouldn't be quiet. It'd be like, you're a great father, I can tell. So, you must be, you're probably used to it now, but you must be knackered by Sunday.
Yeah, you are. Like it's, and Saturday nights you usually like to go out and have a feed and a few drinks with the family or even with a few mates because the week's been so hard, you just want to let down and enjoy yourself. So by the time you get to Sunday, it's, but then Sunday's family day, so you got the kids all day, and I really enjoy that. Like it's one day where I really don't ride at all, even if there's race meetings on. I make sure I don't. And the kids are at a great age now. I think they're 7, 5, 4, and 3. So they're at a good age, and we've got 5 acres where we are at home with a pony and a couple of donkeys. So we don't have to go too far. If we don't want to, we can just hang around there, or we sometimes even just go for 3 days away, just down to a caravan park. So it is exhausting sometimes, but for me, with how busy we are with racing and track work and trials and stuff, it's actually looking after kids and doing that for one day is a bit of a breeze.
Oh, I can imagine.
I think Sian, I don't know how she does it. She does it every day, and she says
she's a superstar.
She says it's hard. I think it's pretty easy. But
So Tommy, when you're sweating before a race or just trying to drop some weight, give people an insight on what you're doing and how many kilos can you drop from just saunas and all that. What do you I just find it fascinating how you guys drop so much weight so quickly.
Yeah, no, every jockey is different, but like some jockeys sweat in saunas. I sweat in a bath. I'd rather do that. So what I'll do is I've got a massive heater. It's in the bathroom, heat lamps, and I'll turn that on probably in a small little bathroom with a bath, and I'll turn that on an hour before I get in, and then I fill up the bath, which is usually sits around close to 40 degrees, so it's quite hot, and jump in that, and I'll lose 1 kilo in 35 minutes in there, just sweating out hard. So I usually do 1.5 kilos night before the races, and then 1.5 kilos the morning of. Some jockeys do 2 to 2.5 kilos the morning of. So, but when you're fit and you're going well and everything's you're in full season, like autumn or spring, so you're at your peak of the year, and you sweat really good and you feel good after it. But it's like, say you're coming back from 2-3 weeks off, and it's like taking blood out of a stone, and you're not fit, so you don't go to the races feeling 100%. So the key to, it's not so much about losing 2 or 3 kilos in a day, It's so much about having yourself fit, so when you are losing it, you're still feeling good once you've taken it off.
Is there much exercise as well, or you just say that for riding, you just sweat in saunas and baths and that?
No, during the week. So if I don't, if like track work's really good, obviously, because you're using the exact same muscles that you're obviously going to use on race day. I know James McDonald and Hugh Bowman, they work with Trent Langland down there at, I think it might be Coogee or Bondi, and he does a lot of core strength stuff. So I work a lot on core strength, do a lot of walking for me. If I'm not riding, I usually go for a walk with sweat gear on, and because if I run too much, my legs get quite big, so it's all about keeping your muscles slim and trying to stay as small as you can.
Do you think when what age do you feel like you'll finish up? Like, is it, you got another 20 years in you reckon?
Oh, I think 45 would, I want to get to a point, it's sort of a balance with everything with me. I want to get to a point, 45, I feel like it's at a good age where I hopefully would have achieved what I want to achieve by then, and my kids will be at an age where I'll sort of want to, because racing's so full on and it does run your life a lot. You don't get to, you do miss a lot of your kids' sport, like races are on a Saturday, your kids play sport on a Saturday. So I guess at the age of 45, I'd feel like I'd be at a point in my career where, hopefully I've accomplished what I want to accomplish. I can concentrate more on my family, my kids, and watch them grow up. And I guess for me, racing will probably retire me instead of me retiring from racing, and that's just through opportunities. And I want to be at the top of my game and where I am now. And if I can't perform to what I'm doing now, or I'm not getting the opportunities I'm getting now, I don't know if I could go back to anything less than what I am, and that's just, I know it sounds probably a little bit I don't know how to put it, but I guess I want to be at the top, and if I'm not there, then I don't really want to do it anymore.
Well, you've worked your ass off to get there. There's no point, stopping until you've run out of steam. So yeah. I like that. What is the oldest, who's the oldest? There's Larry Cassidy would be one of the oldest, wouldn't he? Who's the oldest?
Yeah, I was speaking to Frankie Dettori on the weekend, and he told me he's 52. So he looks good. He's still riding Group 1 winners. I think Frankie's ridden almost 250 Group 1 winners, so which is incredible. When you talk about Hugh Bowman, he's ridden 102, I think. So for Frankie to ride 250 at the age of 53, I think Ollie's around the same age. Glenn Boss has only been retired a year. I think he was 52. Jim Cassidy was around 50. So I think 50 sort of pulls most of them up, and especially with the younger talent coming through now, you know what it's like with racing. Everyone wants a new kid on the block. So you're getting a bit older, it does get a bit harder for you.
Who is the young kid on the block that we should all keep our eyes out for that we might not know enough about at the moment?
Well, I think that the kids that have come through now, you're starting to hear a bit about them. I think Dylan Gibbons is going really good. He's going to be a star of the future. And then there's plenty of kids down south that are going quite well now. Jackson Sewell's starting to get a bit of a roll on. Tommy Sherry, he's just come out of his time, but he's a jockey. He's sort of, when you first come out of your time and you're with the big boys, you haven't got a claimer. I think it's really tough to get going, and obviously the jockeys room's so strong in Sydney, but I think Tommy Sherry's going to be a kid in the next sort of few years that will really...
I've backed him a few times. If it's not Tommy Berry, it's Tommy Sherry, because being Tommy Sheridan, I've always go, wow, that's an name.
I'll take him. No, but you won't lose back in him.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. Back to Group 1s, how many have you had?
I think I'm on 38 now.
It's incredible.
Yeah, there's a couple in Hong Kong, like the Hong Kong Derby, which is one of the biggest Group 1s. Well, it is the biggest Group 1 in Hong Kong. They don't recognise as a world Group 1, so they don't go on your CV. They are on your CV, but I think with two of them, it's up around 40. So
what do you want? What's the legacy you want to leave behind at 45 or 50 or whenever you do hang them up in the future? What's the legacy that have you written goals down that you want to achieve?
Yeah, like the one thing I want people to remember me when I retire is a guy that just went out and gave it his all, whether he was on the favourite in a Group 1 or if he was just riding in a midweek. I pride myself on giving a horse every opportunity, no matter where I am. And just someone that's worked hard for what they've got, and that was good to be around, and people wanted to have on their horse. So that's what I want to be remembered as. And as for goals, I want to win 100 Group 1s. it's only the elite do it and only the best do it. And there's a good chance it might not happen, but I'm going to work my ass off and try and make it happen.
I think you'll get there. How many people have done that before?
I couldn't tell you. There's a few I know of, you know, but only once again, it's like Damien Oliver, Hugh Bowman. I think Corey Brown, like he was a freak, but he only rode up around the 50, I think. So it's not easy to do, but I think James McDonald's already at 74. So
he's on fire at the moment.
Oh, he'll break all the records. He's just a freak, and he's riding against people like James and Huey and Nash and Kieran McAvoy. They bring the best out in you. It's great.
Are you all tight in the locker room?
Yeah, we all get on really well. We've got our little sort of just where you sit in your corners and stuff like that. You congregate there, and it's really good in all the Sydney jockeys room because you've got where you sort of get all your gear ready, and then you've got an eating area with some lounges and that. So if you don't have a ride in that, everyone sort of gets in there and has a bit of a laugh. And you got people like Reggie and Regan Bayless. He keeps everyone sort of entertained for the day. So there's a few characters in there, which is good.
We're going to go to the questions from the Aces. I'll just kick it off right there, and then Regan Bayless, we love him. He's an energy. We haven't heard from him lately, actually, Reggie. He's been a bit quiet. What's he like in the locker room? You know, give everyone an insight on what you see and what's he like.
Exactly what you just said then. He's either 100 mile an hour and up and about, or if he's having a bad day or he's rattling around a bit up there, he'll go and he'll be in the corner and you won't hear a word from him. You could go 6 races and not even know he's there. But when he gets there and he's got a couple of good rides or something, he's up and about, he's full on. Sometimes you got to say, mate, can you just go back around your side and sit down and leave me alone, because he's very full on. But he's been a great addition to the Sydney jockeys room. He's really livening it up.
Oh, he's great value. I can only imagine that, because he does. I've been backing him. He hasn't. I don't think he's had some great days. As you said, I don't think he's had a win on the weekend. But you know, when he rode Private Eye, I think he had a Group 1 back-to-back last year. I could only imagine him in the locker room after that. He would have been absolutely humming.
Well, he was going into the day, and I remember that day he goes, Epsom Day, it's a bit of a nothing day, isn't it? You know, he mustn't have thought he had much good rides. It's a bit of a nothing day, Epsom Day. And then he got to the end of the day, he goes, fuck me. He goes, Epsom Day's the best day of the year, isn't it? Because he won the Group 1 double. But he was up and about. But that was a time when COVID was on, and everyone had was put into 3 people in one room, 3 people there. And he got put into this room on his own, and it was dead set. You couldn't even open the door. The room was that small. So he was in there on his own. So he was locked away from everyone. So we didn't have to hear it all like that, which was good.
Oh, that's great. We love him. And Miami Dolphins, man, who you said you're starting to get into. Now, mate, questions from everyone. Finn Walker, thank you for reaching out. He's asked me to ask Tommy for his personal opinion of his best ever ride.
I'd have to say probably the offer in the Sydney Cup. It was at a tough time in my life. It was not long after my brother passed. I think it might have only been within a month after Nate passed. So, and I rode him with that much patience and as I said earlier, just everything sort of fell into place. And when the race was, even the caller said, I think I got shuffled back to second last, and I just let everyone else go and sort of had the last crack at him. And it was probably one of the best rides I've ever put in. Special
ride. Will Tommy come to WA for the Group 1? Mickey G said he's coming to ride Devoted. Is that true or false?
I'm not sure. He's spoken about a couple there, but I think I might go and ride Rothfire. He's going to go and run in the Winterbottom and the Gold Rush.
So you might get over there?
Yeah, so I'm pretty keen to get over there. I haven't been over there in ages, and I've got some family over there and great friends in the Granthams and Mickey G. Definitely want to go over there and ruffle his feathers up.
Oh, we love that. That was for the notorious Rob, that question. Why is Regan Bayless the biggest pest known to mankind, from Sugar to Saurus?
It depends who you ask. I don't know. He's just got too much energy. I don't know what it is about him, but I think there's always one. If it's in a footy team or a jockey's room, there's one, and he's it. Oh, we love the pest. Now, biggest foghorn voice in the jockey's room, I'd imagine. Yeah, that's him again. Still Regan. Yeah. I love how you said he goes real quiet. Like he's a real up and down. He's a yo-yo, He's on cloud 9 or he's on the rock bottom. He'll be trying to call you 20 times, or if he's in not the right space, you won't hear from him for a month. He's incredible. Well, he must have been in a good space, because I haven't heard from him the last 3 weeks. But geez, I love that man. If you had
to be stuck in a lift with a fellow jock for 24 hours, who would it be?
Probably Kieran McAvoy, because I love hearing some of his stories, and he's an interesting character, and he's got 4 kids as well, so we've got a bit in common there.
Outside of the giant Group 1 trainers, which stable turns their horses out best on race day?
I'd say the Hawkses are very good at what they do. When Hawkses, Snowdens, Wallers, there's not much between a lot of the good trainers, but when Hawksy sets one for a Group 1, you know you're on the right horse.
That's good to know. Great knowledge. Favourite win of all time? Tough question, no doubt.
I think your first ever win is always special, and it was for my father. So that was good. Nathan's winning the Magic Millions on Unencumbered, that was pretty special. And I'd have to say my first Golden Slipper on Overreach.
Beautiful. Nicest trainer you ride for, and who you'd love to have a beer with more?
Terry Robinson.
There
He's
you
a
go.
champion.
Love that. Thoughts on the last 200 metres when Chautauqua won his last TJ Smith?
Lost for words. Can't even put it into words. It was incredible. Probably one time where I thought I couldn't win a race, and he ended up winning it easy, so it was good.
What is the best horse you've ridden?
I won on Winx, so that was pretty
Did you get
cool.
to ride Winx?
Yeah. I rode her twice. I won the Far Lap Stakes on her, and then got beat on her in the Vinery, and then got taken off her for the Oaks. So I think Joe Moreira ended up riding her in the Oaks. He got beat on her there, and then I think that's when the association started with Huey.
If you hadn't have got beaten, would have you stayed on her?
Oh, it's hard to say.
Do you think about that?
I do. I'm glad I didn't, because I was probably for what she went through, and Huey was the perfect man for the job. You know, he's been riding for 10 years longer than me. He's got a lot more experience at that, and he handled that pressure and everything that come with Winx quite well. And he handled it well at the time, but what it did to Huey for the next 12 months after, and he's spoken about publicly, it was he struggled for a while after Winx left and retired. So yeah, it would have been great to ride her. Would I have had the same record on her? I don't think so. I don't think anyone would have had the same record as Huey did on her. He was Winx, him and Chris.
Well said, mate. Well said. What's the lightest weight you've had to, be for a certain horse?
I rode 51 in the Melbourne Cup, going probably back about 5 years ago. That was tough. It took me a month. I had 5 fruits blended into a 600 ml shake, and I had a 600 ml shake every day for a month, and that was all.
That's crazy, man.
Nothing else.
Geez, do you used to get like blood tests and that to just make sure that your levels and everything's all good?
Oh, no, probably too scared to go get them done, but we do have to pass you call it a vet check, but we have to get a full body check. Everything gets done, blood tests and everything once a year to obviously renew your license. So as long as you're getting done every 12 months, but with 4 kids, you're usually at the doctors anyway quite often. So I always get checked up and looked over quite often.
Look, mate, this is where we get to the exciting part. I can't thank you enough for inviting us down here to St Andrews Beach Brewery. It's just, it's spectacular. The beers are great. As I said, I am sipping out of mate because I've had 1,000 on the weekend. It's Derby Day. It was a big day. And then
I
the
asked for a small glass.
They give me a monster. Now, mate, you don't come on this show without going home empty-handed. Our friends here at MILWAUKEE Tools, they're unbelievable, honestly. No pull starts, no engine maintenance, no mixing petrol and oil. Book a test drive now at milwaukeetools.com.au. Milwaukee, nothing but heavy duty. Now, mate, we love Milwaukee. They're, as I said, a huge sponsor of the show, and without them, we wouldn't be here. We always like to ask everyone that comes on a question. What is the handiest moment of your life? We speak about Milwaukee and how they can really help everyone. You've got your wife at the back laughing at you. What's the handiest moment of Tommy Berry's life so far?
Well, my wife asked me to put up a rack so she could hang the ironing board on once when we were in an apartment. So I put up the rack, put the ironing board on there, and it was still sitting on the ground. So I didn't even put it up high enough on the wall to make a difference. So that's as good as I am on the tools.
There you go. Well, mate, you're gonna get looked after. This is only one of a few things, though. When I say a few, probably 8 things. They're going to be sent to your doorstep. You got the blower here, the M18 fuel driven to outperform blower. You got the whipper snipper. You got everything. You got everything coming your way. And again, huge shout out to MILWAUKEE Tools. They're They're amazing for the show, and we love them so much.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks for that little story. That's a cracker. Now, you RIXXs, I've sent you a few. You used to wear the black Orbits, but I've got you another pair today. I've got you the, do you want crystal grey or would you like black?
Like crystal grey, I reckon.
Bang. So they're yours. That's the brand new Marlin dark crystal grey sunglasses. Look sharp this summer. Remember, get ready for summer now. RIXX are actually currently offering us $79 off for 2 pairs. So grab one for you and your mate, you and your partner, and you get $79 off right now. So let's party this summer with RIXX.
They're comfortable, aren't they? Nice and light.
They look good on you, mate. Perfect. Normally the Jockey's smaller head. You got a nice head, perfect for the
Nice
RIXXs. Mate, RIXX and
You're
retirement.
talking about the top head, that's good. At the bottom one.
RIXX and retirement. It's a segment that we like to ask all our guests. You know, once life's done and professional life, you can keep them on, by the way, because I like to cut them up for this little segment.
Beautiful.
RIXX and retirement. Once you're going to have 150 group ones. You're cashed up. Money's not an issue. You got the 4 kids and a lovely partner. Wife, I should say. Where do you want to settle? Where's the one place you'd like to retire and why? Just one location you'd like to settle with your RIXXs on.
Anywhere down the south coast, from Kiama down to Shoalhaven Heads, you know, Gerald, it's just beautiful all down the south coast. I know Shani, she wants to go up north coast, but anywhere along the water.
So you have to rock, paper, scissors with Shans at the back and just get it your way. That's great. You would have seen, I mean, Sydney's beautiful. I miss it so much. So lucky to get up there for, 2 years. And then remember, everyone out there, discount code. If you're not using the $79 off to look like Tommy with the brand new Marlins to get 2 pairs, just get your own pair. Use the discount code ACES at checkout. You'll get 20% off and free express shipping. Now, mate, Caps, our last sponsor. I love this one. It's the Caps Clanger. Have you been watching much NFL? You said Reggie's got you into it. You're currently going for the Dolphins. They just got Bradley Chubb, I think it was, today in trade. So they're humming. They're ready to go.
Yeah, no, I'm still getting into it. I'm not 100% with the rules, but I went and watched a couple of games with Reggie at the pub going back a year ago, and it's a great game to watch. And it's great because you can go to the pub and it goes for a few hours. So it's not like the NRL where it goes for 80 minutes. At least you can have a bit longer with the boys and have a few more drinks. Spot
on. And I thought I'd get you the Chiefs hat because you can't go wrong. They'll be right around at the end of the year. So if anyone goes, who you're going for, well, Paddy Mahomes goes, all right. Caps Clanger. What's your biggest clanger you've ever had? We talk about our Caps Clanger. It could be like, everyone's got a clanger, whether it's growing up, whether it's at school, at work, truck work, at home. What's a clanger that comes to mind? A Caps Clanger.
Oh, geez, it's a hard one. There'd be plenty. I'm tipping my wife will be able to tell more. But, I don't know. That is a tough one. You got me there.
I've got you. Too many.
Yeah. You know what? One day I was popping a pimple in the mirror, and the knob of my dick ended up inside of the drawer, and I leant forward and smacked it and split my knob from one end to the other. So that wasn't really nice, but you probably weren't expecting that one. There you go.
That is the best Caps Clanger I've ever heard. That is an absolute man. Oh, that is brilliant. Mate, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This will be a cracker. First jockey, Regan. We've got the king on, mate, because you couldn't make time for me when you were down here, only staring. Mate, all the best. Keep doing what you're doing. You'll be 100 Group 1s, no doubt. And thanks for your time, mate, and appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Cheers, Tommy.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Tommy Talks, where you literally can't thank you enough for all your support. Speaking of support, our great mates, MILWAUKEE Tools. Without yous, we wouldn't be here. MILWAUKEE Outdoor Power Equipment gives you the power to clear, cut and maintain the outdoors without the petrol headaches. No pull starts, no engine maintenance, no mixing petrol and oil. Book a test drive now at milwaukeetools.com.au. MILWAUKEE, nothing but heavy duty. All right, catch you on the next one.